Hey, thanks for stopping back by this week. Tune-ups, spring unthawing, getting ready for the riding season. And we have this 2006 Road King in that we're going to do a 20-point inspection on and tune-up. So when you get your bike out of hibernation, please make sure you go through these steps just to check everything to make sure you're good for the riding season. So welcome back to Butler Customs Motorcycle Shop. Well, I know we're kind of in the middle of February. I got a birthday coming up. I'll be 50 years old. Now, I still feel like I'm a teenager and in my 20s, sometimes a little smarter, so maybe in my 40s. But I don't know what to do with the 50 ranges. What do? I don't know. So you guys tell me that's been through it or going through it. It's supposed to be the fun times because then you got a little brains and you're a little smart. Any hoose and house. A 20-point inspection and a tune-up. This is something good to do on your bike when you get it out and you're ready to put some miles on it. Because here's the thing. You don't want to be wrenching on your bike all summer long. You want to enjoy it and you want to ride it. So do this now before the riding season gets here. So this is a perfect time to start here for us in Middle Tennessee to start tuning up our bikes, going through all the inspections and getting it ready to ride. Because spring's coming up here a little bit past a month. I think March the 20th, I think, is spring starting here in the States. I like to start with the things on the outside that I can easily check and inspect. Number one is tires. We do the tire tread. We do the tire pressure. Also, then, number two, I look at the rotors, the thickness of the rotors, the warpage of the rotors, if there is any. Like on that 95 custom hardtail that we're doing, it had a bolt for the rotor, for the caliper that went through too far and is actually rubbing on the rotor. So we'll check that, things like that. Also, the tire year. We want to make sure the industry standard for tires is about 6 years. So if you have a tire that's older than 6 years, even if it doesn't have a lot of miles on it, you're going to get into that rubber hardening, which is very dangerous on wet roads or poor road conditions, especially gravel as well. And also, you're going to start getting dry rot. Now, you might not be able to see dry rot. Understand, dry rot, if you just look at the side of the tire, you might not see dry rot. But if you actually get into the treads of the tire, you could see some cracking and stuff. So that's why about 6 years. Also, if you have spokes, which this one does not, take your wrench, tap each spoke. You'll hear a tone. If a tone changes, is a little duller or a little flatter, that spoke is probably not true. And you might want to get that at least tightened or looked at. And they're easy to tighten. Inspect a drive belt or a chain, regardless of what it is. We'll, of course, look at brakes. We'll look at the brake pads themselves. We'll look at the fluid and check that. We'll check the battery. We'll start it up, check the battery charging system and make sure that's good. We'll do an oil change for the motor and a new filter. We'll do the primary oil change, and then of course we'll check the primary chain tension and make sure it's still good and inspect. Also, what I do that some people don't, it's a beautiful day here. I'm actually in my short breeches and the kids are outside playing, having a blast, running around crazy like they've never seen grass before. I look at the intake gaskets and inspect those and the exhaust gaskets. I just inspect around the head just to make sure there's no blowout, blow by, no cracks in the intake. Sometimes, a lot of times you can catch something before you start hearing something, and that's a good thing to do. It also gives me time to kind of look at the gaskets around the head, the rocker box gaskets, the around the head gasket and especially at the base gasket. So I kind of include all those together. When I inspect around the motor, that's what I'm looking for. Air filter clean or replace. Motor mounts, we'll check our motor mounts as well. Kickstand, the spring, and the rubber that keeps it from popping up on the primary or the bottom of the frame. We'll inspect that as well. We're going to do a look at all the electricals, the lights, the horns, the buttons, the blinkers, and also check if it has codes. A lot of times your check engine light on these models will turn on, which is normal. Then it'll go off. Sometimes it'll flash back on and go off. That's usually a code it's a history of a code. If it stays on, of course, it has an active code. So we'll check for codes and then we'll clear anything off and we'll look those codes up to see what might have happened. Also, we'll be doing new plugs, and I like to check the handlebar mounts just to make sure. I believe I replaced these on this customer's bike last year with some new bushings, handlebar bushings, but I just like to, get on it and feel it. If it has little play, I'll even, just put a 3/4 inch long, deep socket up in there and just give it a little snug. Just make sure they're good and tight. Also, transmission oil change, we'll do that. And this is a bagger. So it's important, very important, to check your bags. I can't tell you how many times customers have come up and said, I need a new set of bags. What happened, said customer? Going down the interstate, 18-wheeler come by me doing 450 miles an hour, blew my bag off. These bag mounts are terrible. Of all the things Harley designed, which I think are good things, the bag mounts, the little twisty things, are terrible. I'll show you why. But it's good to check those. And we'll check the frame that these bags sit in because they're bad to crack and even break. And then your bag's just flopping, and if you don't see it because you're not looking back at it, you could lose the bag. Gas caps. We're going to make sure they are still vented the way they should be. Now on this bike, you have a gas gauge on this cap over here. So it has a big label down here, do not twist. This is not a gas cap. It's a dummy cap with a gas gauge in it. That's 20 points of inspection and tune-up. If you check through all those things and everything checks out okay and everything's updated and replaced it needs to be, you're good for a riding season. So enough jawing, let's get to it. Okay, so on the tires, I have the center stand up where I can rotate the tire. Some people like using the dial gauges, but I find that just these, if they're good and, loosened up, these work pretty good. I find these to be pretty accurate. Okay, so that's right at 30. A little too low. So now while you're checking the pressure, also just look at the valve stem itself, the little rubber boot. Make sure there's no cracks. It's not dry rotted, it's good. Now for the tire tread, you want to measure the depths here. Now they make depth gauges that you can put in there. But if you got a penny, which I hope you do, you can measure the tire depths with your penny. Old Abraham Lincoln. And on Abraham Lincoln, if you see the top of his head, you need new tires. Now don't measure out here, because you usually don't ride here. You got these chicken strips, and chicken strips are the side of your tires you're too chicken to ride on. So measure in the middle. Most tires will have a ridge down the middle, or get as close to the middle with these ridges here that you can. Here in the middle, I can't even see his hair at all. These are good. I'm going to rotate the tire, and I'm just going to look for any signs of irregular wear. Now I know this customer, and he keeps his bikes in pretty good shape, so I don't suspect to see any irregular wear. So as far as the tire, it's good. Of course, it's not spoked, it is tubeless, so we don't have to worry about anything like that. Now next I want to get in here and inspect the brake pads. Now on modern brake pads, you will have, this is a new pad in the pack, you'll have a slit here. And the reason for that slit is that so you can inspect them and see how much pad you actually have left. But when you do it long enough, you can just look in the end here. These do not have slits. These do not go with that. I just brought them out for demonstration purposes. These pads on this side look great. They're nice and flat. They're the same size at the top as they are at the bottom, so they're not riding weird on both sides. He's got plenty of life left on that one and plenty of life left on this one. I'll also inspect the rotors. Now, the rotors, if you take your fingers and just rub up and then you feel a big, huge difference up here, you need to put some calipers on these rotors. There is a tolerance to these rotors. However, I've never seen one wear out except once when a caliper got stuck, overheated, but you could see it was blued all the way around. So I knew it was bad. And when I ran my fingers up here, you could feel ridges, and then you could feel a big difference in this top that never gets the pad contact. And then down here, where it doesn't get a contact either, it should be a nice, smooth transition, and it is. Also feel for any kind of ruts. There's none in that all the way around. And then spin your tire and just look for any kind of warpage on that rotor. Close one eyeball, that always helps. Yeah, this is nice. I'll check the other side as well. I suspect it to be quite the same, and it is. Now let's look for straightness. Yes, very, very good. Now that rubbing you're hearing, is it rubbing the lift and not rubbing on anything it's not supposed to. Now with the tire up, I'll press the front brake and just kind of see our play there. Of course, we will inspect the fluid. So they're releasing good, they're grabbing good, and they're releasing good. So very good. So our tire is done. Now while I'm down here, but when I look around here, I don't want to see any kind of leaking down here from around this or leaking up around here. So I want to inspect around this really good. Very good. Also, I don't see any leaking on the fork tubes coming down from the fork seals. That's good. Now, it's warm today and it was cold yesterday. So there's a lot of humidity in this shop. Everything's kind of sweaty. So the water you're seeing is not from anything leaking. It's from humidity. I'll check the other side as well. Our bleeder is nice and dry as well. There's nothing leaking from that. Our forks are nice and dry as well. Very good. These are the bags I was talking about. And there's the bolts I was talking about. I'll take this off here. Come on, pull on out. Come on, little buddy. Why won't you pull out? Okay, take that one out instead. Oh, get my bolts. Okay, so the entire weight of your bag, when you're riding and it's bouncing back and forth, is kept on this right here. And the way Harley designed it is there's a hook back there, or a pin, a metal piece. And this goes in, finds the groove, and then you twist it and it locks. The problem is, that's all that's holding your bag on. That little piece of metal right there. So if you pull your pin out and you see that this is bent out or kind of swelled out, they're about to break on you. Now you can replace these with bagger bolts, and you can do it yourself at the hardware store. It's very easy to do. I would suggest that it's a really good upgrade. That's all holding your bags on. So if you lose a bag, that's probably 9 times out of 10 going to be your culprit. But I want to go ahead and pull the bags off so we can inspect the bag rail and also the drive belt and the rear. Why ain't you coming out? The rear wheel. I don't know what you're hung on, buddy. Talk to me. There we go. All right, here. Good example. All right, you see that? Perfect example. Oh, I'm glad I did this. Look, I can't even get the washer off that. That's why that wasn't coming out. Look at that. You see how that swelled out? That right there was about to break off. And then his bag would have come loose from the front, and only been held on by this. And eventually, you know, when you load these down, that's a lot more weight on this. So I will be replacing these with bagger bolts for this gentleman. You'll get to see us do that. It'll be fun. So now we can put the bag back on and just simply lift this up. Of course, if you've got lid lights or brake lights or turn lights on this bag, you'll want to disconnect those first. That gives us access to our pulley back here, our drive pulley, and our belt. And this has the little cover on it with the gauge to gauge the belt as well. Can I get under it like this? There we go. We'll just pop that off. And that little pin right there is all that's holding your bag on. So if that pin was to break, or like this, so this goes in, it twists, and that's what's holding your bag on right there. That's it. That's all. So what I'll do is replace it with a threaded clip like this that just snaps on there, and a bolt and washer that goes in there. And then that bag is going nowhere. Now with the bag off, we want to inspect this arm right here. It's one piece, it runs down here. It's like a little cover, runs down here, but it also holds on your bag rail, and the muffler bolts to this rail right here. So oftentimes you will see a crack, a stress fracture right in this groove, and then this will actually break off, and then your bag is just flopping, and your muffler. So you want to make sure you look in there good. There is no sign of a crack, no sign of chipped chrome. This looks really good. There's no flex hardly in it at all, so that's good. Right over here on this side, that one looks okay. Of course, I'm going to replace these for him. That's what I would want somebody to do. And look, that one right there, it's already doing it too, the front ones. And that happens, you know. You put stuff in these bags, you go to the store and buy your mama some milk. That's just what's going to happen. Now, he has an air ride on this, so that's what this thing right here is. A compressor with a bracket that goes right up here underneath the bag. It's tucked away nice, so you can hit that and it'll go up. So really nice addition to have. Hit it down, it'll leak back down. So what I'm looking at now, I'm looking at the rear brake on this side. Again, I'm looking for any wetness around the banjo bolt and the line coming in. I'm going to inspect the pad as well and the rotor as well. I'm going to lift up the rear tire so that we can get under here and turn the tire around. Okay, rear pads look good on that. Now the outsides are easy to see. The inside, you gotta kind of get underneath the rotor and look up. Those look good. The rotor looks good as well. Let's check this drive belt. On this guard here, there are notches. And this is so you can check the tension. 1, 2, 3, 4. 10 pounds is about what you want, and we're right there at 4 notches. So that right there is about where it rides. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's about 10 pounds right there by my fingers. So the belt tightness is good. Now, personally, I would rather have a little tighter belt than a little looser belt. Looser belt's going to cause you troubles more than a tighter belt. Of course, if I did this and that's all I got, that's too tight. But if I just put 10 pounds on it with my fingers and got all the way up here, that's too loose. So I'd rather have it a little bit tighter than loose, but this is just right. I mean, it's perfect. Now on the drive belt itself, what you're looking for is that the teeth on the drive belt are nice and round. Also on your pulley sprocket, that the teeth on it are nice and smooth and round. So you'll raise the tire up, you'll spin the tire around, and you'll look to make sure that all your teeth are good. If you're missing a tooth, you're going to have to replace the belt. If it's sharp, you need to replace the belt. These belts have a long life on them. That's why I hardly went to these. And they absorb more torque, I guess, or vibration. I don't know what you'd call that. You scientific folks tell me this belt is good. Also, you can get back here On some models, it's hard to on a bagger, but look at how the drive, as you turn the wheel, is actually riding in this pulley. So what you want to see here is a gap on this side and a gap on this side. That lets you know this pulley is right, or this belt's riding right in the center of this pulley, and that's what you want. So as you spin it, you shouldn't see the pulley or the belt pull to one side or pull to the other side. A good indicator that your wheel is not centered and riding centered is you'll see this be chewed up on this side or on the other side where it's riding up against the lip of this pulley. Now we're still kind of piddling around the bike, and I want to see about his electronics now. So I'm going to turn the bike on. I hear the fuel pump, I see the security, I see the check engine light, oil pressure neutral. There's my horn, there's my brights. They are working in front. There's my turn. It is working in the front and in the rear. There's this turn. It's working in the front, on the dash, and in the rear. My brakes. Yes. Yes. Now my off switch. Yes. My run switch. Yes. So all my controls are working. Everything looks good there. Now let's check for codes. So I'm going to turn this off. I want to make sure it's in the run position. And on this model, I want to hold in the odometer and turn it on. I get a DAG signal up here. I'm not sure if you can see it or not. Now I can go through and see codes. So I got a P, an S, an SP, and a T. So on the P, I want to hold it. I do have a history of a code of P0562. Let me write that down. All right, let me see if we have any other codes. Nope, that's the end of that. I'll go to the S. I'll hold it down. No codes there. I'll go to the SP, the speedometer. I'll hold it down. No codes there. I'll go to the T. I'll hold it down. No, nothing there. Okay. Then when you're done with all the codes, I want to go back to that, go back to the P, and I want to hold it down. There's my code again, and now I want to hold it in and to clear that code. I'll hold it until it says clear, then it's clear. Now, if I wanted to check that, I could go back through that again and hold the P down, and I have no codes. So I'll go look that code up, see exactly what it is. One more thing, I want to check these passing lights. Yes, okay, so they're good. So the code that was in the history on this is a P0562, which is low voltage, which just means at one time when he tried to start it, it had a low voltage which triggered that code. Now the code is not staying on, so you know, he might have not had it on a battery tender and not started it for a while. Maybe he started it to bring it up here. He actually rode the bike up here. So it could be that it just triggered that code. Of course, we'll check the battery. We'll check the charging system as well. That's why we do that. Also, the fuel gauge seems to be working. It came up well. All of our lights here on the dash works. I cleared the codes off. All right, we're down here at the front of the motor now. Got my light set up here. We want to check this motor mount right here and get all the manure off of it. And what you're looking for is any signs of cracks. You're looking for if this top bracket is kind of, looks like it's squished down, you know, kind of sagging down. You want to check the rubber. If it feels good and soft, that's a good mount. And this steel is very, very soft, so that's good. So the mount looks good. So with the air filter cover, it's a 5/16 Allen. I'll back this off. Just pull that cover and the rubber boot off. And then the bolts that hold the actual air filter on is T25. I'll just break them free here. Then we can bring these on out. They will be really, really long. They go all the way through to your intake. Now our air filter can just go ahead and slide right off. And then on this model, you have your breather tubes that come out of your breather bolts. They just go into the back of this. So this air filter has seen better days. See that? So we will need to replace this air filter. There's a part number there. Pretty common air filter. I think I've even got one in stock. It does have a gasket back here, so make sure that when you get the air filter, it's got the gasket with it that goes back on there. And then just throw that on there. But I think I've got one in stock. Let me see. All right, I had one. The one I had was just like this, except it doesn't have the hole there for this. So it's a different model number. So I'll run the Harley tomorrow and pick him up one. Now, some like the K&Ns with the metal filters, you can blow them out, spray them out, and put them right back on. These are papered. They're cloth, so they will not work. And could I blow this out and try to reuse this? I mean, I guess you could, but I tell you, all those fibers catch things your eyes cannot see. And so if you peel this back and look down in there, it is pretty nasty. So I'll just run into the store and grab him another one to throw on there. But we can keep looking around. I did check the exhaust gaskets and the intake for any blow-by. All that looks good. Now on the gas cap, you just want to take the cap off, and it should be vented. So what you want to do, you should hear that valve rattling, and that's good. That's what you want to hear. If these valves stop working, then it will not let the tank drain properly. So you'll get a kind of like a hydrolock in these tanks. Now there is a vent tube on this, and also this is fuel injected, so it has a pump. So on the gravity fed ones that have a carburetor, that's really important that you have a vented gas cap. So that cap's good. Now on the kickstand itself, you just want to make sure that it goes back up good, that it goes up into the groove good when it's down on the ground. That's good, and it goes up. Of course, it's hitting my center stand. Check the rubber on here. Make sure this little rubber boot is on here on this model. Some models, the boot, the little rubber stopper, it's up on the frame, or it's a little clip on some Dynas that clip onto the frame. And they can kind of twist on you, and then this is actually slapping up underneath. So if you're going down the road and hear a rattle and think you've thrown a rod or something, it could just be your kickstand slapping up against your frame or the bottom of your primary. I have seen kickstands that have rubbed the inner primary and the outer primary almost in two. So it's very important. You want to check, make sure you got rubber there. So with the rear brakes, just take your Phillips and get in here. And you definitely want to do this with it cold, because if not, you could burn your hands here on the exhaust pipe. This one's a little bit hard to get off on some models. Not so bad on this 06. Now you'll get you a rag ready. I like to use a microfiber so that there's no lint or rag dust that gets down into my fluid in case this fluid's good. Now it does have an inspection site, and you can look down in there and make sure that you have fluid, but this will not tell you the condition of your fluid. So I like to take the caps off, and I like to look down in here. So to me, I know you might not be able to see it, but the fluid looks good. It looks clear. It is full. But I just got this thing. A brake fluid tester. I got it on Amazon for like 15 bucks. I thought these things were like crazy expensive, but they're not. So what this will actually test is it will actually test if there's any water in the brake fluid. So although the brake fluid looks good, I don't know if it is good just by looking at it. So this model that I've got does the DOT 3, 4, and 5.1. So I can turn it on here, and I can do a DOT 3, a DOT 4, and a DOT 5.1. Then you just clean off your probes, you stick them down in there, and it will read the moisture. And I believe this is a DOT 4. Yes, okay, DOT 4 fluid. So let me get over to the 4. And it's got a little manual that tells you what's good and what's not. I think when it beeps like that, it's no good. So let's see. If the value is 0 to 2%, the green backlight is bright, indicating that the brake fluid can continue to be used. If the value is 2% to 3%, a yellow backlight is bright, and the buzzer sounds slowly, indicating that the brake fluid needs to be replaced. If the value is greater than 3%, the red backlight is bright and the buzzer sounds quickly. Please replace the brake fluid immediately. DOT 4. All right, my probes are clean. Let's see what we've got. All right, that time we got a 2.2. So we will be bleeding this off and replacing it with good DOT 4 fluid. So I'm glad I got this. I picked this up. If you don't have one, buy one. They're $15 off Amazon. Gosh, you pay that for a burger meal. Good tool to have. I even got a little pocket thing. I don't know why you carry it around in your pocket, but it's got it. If I'm going to be replacing the rear, I'll probably go ahead and replace the front as well, but we'll test it on the front. But a really, really handy thing to have. And that's why I wanted that, because even though I'm looking down in here and it looks good, it's clear, I can see the bottom, you know, to me, I'd say, man, that's good brake fluid, but it is not. It has moisture in it, and that can cause big, big trouble down the road. Pull the bleeder on it, put the vacuum on it, suck all this out, keep filling with new DOT 4. Okay, my fluid is now flushed. Fresh fluid in it. It's important to use a new bottle. If you use an open bottle that is kept out in your shop where humidity is, like my shop, it'll be no good. I tested a used bottle and it had more moisture in it than what it had in here. So went and got a new bottle, put it back together. And on the front brakes, I like to just get this rag ready in case it is overfilled. I don't want it running all down. And just a little tip, when you're putting these caps back on and tightening them, please make sure you don't over tighten them and squish that gasket out. That's what causes leaks. The gaskets on these usually don't dry rot. It's from people tightening these screws down way too much. I did clean the top cap off before I separated this. And this fluid looks a lot better. It's a lot cleaner. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, it is 2.2. So it does have moisture in it. So just like the bottom one there. So we will be flushing that fluid out as well. It looked better than the bottom one. I did test this with some good fluid. Just poured some in the cap of the jug, put this in here, so I know it's accurate. So we'll bleed this out, just keep putting fluid in it, keep pumping till the new fluid starts coming out of our calipers, our bleeder bolts, and then I know that new fluid is in there and the old fluid is flushed out. Got them bled, everything went well, got the cap back on. Now, you'll notice on some caps, especially on the twin cams, newer models, there's a thinner side to the cap and a fatter side to the cap. Now, I've heard it doesn't matter which way it goes on, and it'll go on either way. But I've always been taught the fatter side goes toward the forks, the thinner side goes toward the throttle. I don't know if that makes a difference. Maybe when it's on the side stand, it seals the same all the way around. Maybe it's just for this little directional thing, but anyway, if you get a little bit of fluid that comes out from when you're tightening it, or maybe you overfilled it, just take you some Windex, especially down in this crack here where it's going to run, And just make sure you spray that off really good all the way around. More the better. That way it will not eat into this, and probably you've seen brake reservoirs and brake levers that are ate up, and this one has a little bit of it right in here on this mount that I've just noticed from previous fluid getting on it. So just take you some Windex and, you know, spray it off and wipe it off real good. Now we've got the cover on, so it doesn't matter if I use one of these that's got a little lint in it. I just want to spray it off good and clean it off good. You don't really have to worry about the chrome. It won't eat through that, but it will eat through this black or powder coating. I don't know what it is, but it eats through it. Okay, brakes are done. All right, now we're ready to move on to put our filter back on. On fuel injection, there's a little cap or a little rubber cap here that you can take off and spray some carb cleaner down in there, and it'll actually kind of clean out around in here. So it's a good time while you have the air filter off, just pull that little rubber boot, spray down in there and clean all this out. All right, usually there's enough room to get back in here without taking the breather bolts out. I think to show you a little better, I'm going to pull these off, take these off, and then I can show you. Take a 7/16, get these breather bolts out here, and get a little extension on there. Went to the Harley store, and man, they got some beautiful bikes in there. Good night. The price on them. And then I had to do some errands for Sugar Bear. So why do you call your wife Sugar Bear? Well, we've been married coming up on 26 years now. And, you know, she's going through that perimenopause or whatever it's called. And so some days she's sweet as sugar. Other days, gosh, she's mean as a bear. All right, so we'll pull that off there. And there's what I'm talking about. Let me get you over here. There we go. So here's a little kind of plug cap off I was talking about. So you just want to carefully wiggle that up and off. Then we'll take us a rag and stick up in here. And then what we want to do is just kind of put our spout down in there and just spray. There we go. Very good. And just kind of clean that port out really good. You can open up the butterfly and get back in there by twisting the throttle. Now some guys might stick a extension in there and then spray off up in there, but I don't like to put a bunch of carb cleaner up in an injection bike, and this just really kind of needs a little cleaning off. So it's just a good habit to get into. Pop that right back on. And I just took, you could do that with the breather cover on. I just took it off to show you. Also, make sure this is plugged in good. These things right here, if they get a short in them or come off like that, they could cause all kinds of gremlins. You'll spend forever trying to figure out. But that's good. Our gasket here looks good. We're going to go ahead and put this right back on. Set it right up in there. Throw our bolts in. All right, we'll put our tubes back on. We have the air filter and we have a new gasket on. Now, when I looked up this air filter, it had a separate part number for this gasket. And I asked them, do y'all have this gasket in stock? They said no. I'm like, well, okay, let me just go ahead and get the air filter. When I got the air filter out of the box in the Harley store, it had the gasket on it. So I don't know if that's true for all of them, but it was true on this one. They said, well, why didn't you just drill out a hole there on your other one? I didn't want to drill through there and get trash all in here and metal, and it somehow get back into the intake. Very bad on your motor. Also, the next fella that puts this air filter on, if it's not me, will get the wrong part number because it's the wrong filter, and they'll have a headache. So these tubes, just going to stick right back on that one, back in the hole in that one. And then we're going to get this lined up just like that. Now we can take our long screws with this, and it has a mark that says down. So this goes down. They'll go in there just like that. And I want to put a couple in just to hold. And then I'm going to blue Loctite these. While I was out, I picked me up some brand new blue. I got tired of beating the stew out of the old one, trying to get the last little bit out. Alright, and then we'll T25 these in. I like to do these a little bit at a time because I have seen that throttle body break and crack by over tightening these. So that's why I use a small 1/4 inch ratchet. I just want them snug. I've got blue Loctite on them. That's all I want to do right there. Now this filter looks a whole lot better than that filter, and this has the metal mesh in it, so it's a little bit of a better filter. So as you can see by comparison, pretty big difference there. So that's why I wanted to put a new filter on it. Go ahead and blue up my cover bolt. And go ahead and put my gasket on the cover itself. And I'll hold this up here and get it set up there. Slide that in. And then take my 5/16 sequential port injection Road King. Some call them the police bikes. Okay, now I want to feel around, make sure my gasket's not bulging out anywhere. And now with this, I do want to get this pretty snug. And it's got the blue in it. And this is not going into the throttle body, it's just going on that little bracket that we just put on the air cleaner. So we don't have to worry about it breaking anything in there. All right, air filter is done. All right, bagger bolts. So while I was out at the Harley store, swung by Ace Hardware, and I picked up 4 sets of these. It's just a clamp that'll go on here in place of this. It has a thread on it, then a washer and a 1/2 inch bolt. And as far as you can get whatever thread or thickness you want, as long as it doesn't come out too far. Not necessarily here is an issue, but on this bracket you only got so far you can run a bolt in. So you want to make sure that your bolt is short enough to tighten before it hits the back here. So what I did, I just took one of the pins with me and I got a bolt just to kind of match that pin. All we have to do now is actually slide that on there, and that right there will give us a threaded nut to put that on with. Now let's take this one right here off. Usually just bend that out, bend this out. We're not going to reuse these, throw those away. So this is a very, very good upgrade for your bike where you will not lose your bags. So just like that. You don't have to blue Loctite these or anything. They don't vibrate back or out. All right, make sure my rubbers are still on the bottom of the bag. Get me a bolt and a washer ready. Oh yeah, very good. I bet they're metric because I think metric was the only one of these that they had. I know it's taboo putting metric on a Harley. Okay, it's a 13. Oh, those are perfect. They come right out to the end of the bolt or the thread. So this inside bracket has a 7/16 on it that you can loosen the bolt up, and then you can actually move the little bracket behind here in or out or up or down. And for this, we're going to have to move it in right there. Now I want to go ahead and get the bag tightened down. And then I can tighten that bracket down. Very good. So that bag is sitting where I want it. And then we'll just tighten this bracket down. Now with those on there, that's a whole lot more secure. Less rattle and your bags aren't going anywhere. So I'm going to go do the other side. He's got bag covers that just come in that we're going to put on as well. So we did go ahead and throw the bag covers off. You know, yesterday I was out here in shorts. Today It's freezing. It's like 40 degrees. So that's kind of winter in Tennessee, middle Tennessee. So I had to warm these up over by the stove to get them kind of pliable, and then they just slide on over the lids. These are beautiful. I love these. He decided to go with the studded, and for this style, I think it looks really good. So these bags are on here, and I tell you, already you can just feel the difference. They're so much more sturdy. If I had to go back, I couldn't remember what size bolts to get. With the size I got that matched these, they go in and they go all the way to the back of the thread. I would have liked them to be just maybe a 1/4 inch longer. So I would get bolts that are a little bit longer than what these pins are. That way, you know, you can just kind of peep back in here and make sure they're still good and tight. All right, next thing we want to check on is our battery and its charging condition. And I usually wait and do this right before I'm going to change the fluids. Then the fluids will drop a little bit better. Make sure they're good and tight. That was loose. That was loose. These kind of vibrate out. All right, we got it on DC. Our voltage is 12.95. This is a very healthy battery. Now, you can check load. I've got a load tester. I can hook up here and throw a load to it. But I will say this, don't check load with anything connected to your battery, because that load tester throws a load and it could blow a fuse, fry some electrical things. So don't do that. Another way you can test the load is put your leads on it, turn the key on. Watch how much the voltage drops. If it's a 12.9 battery and drops below 12, you probably got an issue with the load on the battery. You say, well, I checked the battery. It had 12 something, but it won't crank. Well, when you throw a load to it, it's got a bad cell in it, and it drops way, way down. I'll throw my terminals on here. We're at 12.95. We throw some juice, pump runs, 12.6. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and crank it up. I'm checking for the charging system to make sure this charges back to the battery while the bike is indeed running. So I'll throw it back on again. We got a good 12.5. We'll watch it while it cranks. We're in neutral. All right, we got 14.4 at idle. That's very good. So our charging system and our battery health is very good. We're going to let this run for a little bit, get the operating temperature, then we can drop our oil, our filter, our transmission, and our primary. All right, she's warmed up pretty good on us here. I believe it's a 3/16 Allen on this drain plug, I believe. Yeah. Tomorrow is my birthday. I'll be 50 years old. Can you believe that? I can't. Now, if your oil looks a little milky, that's all right. That's winter time. All right, so you want to check the tip of this plug here for debris, and it had just a little bit, and that's common, okay? Your clutch in here, your clutch pack gets used. You get friction dust, and it mixes with the oil. That's fine. You just don't want to see any large metal pieces. Also, inspect this O-ring here. If it's warped, if it looks damaged. Now I want to take the inspection cover off. That'll help our flow a little bit better. This is a T25. We can also inspect the chain. We can feel it from here, so we don't have to take the derby cover off just to do that. Already it's flowing a whole lot better. Now I can reach up in here and check the primary tension. Now you want to raise the rear tire up, and you want to rotate the tire as you're feeling the tension of this primary. But this primary feels really good. I can inspect also the sprocket teeth on here. I can look back in here and feel the basket sprocket teeth as well. I can look at the condition of the chain. I can see some of the primary shoe tensioner, and it looks good. So everything in here looks really, really good, and the chain feels perfect. Again, it didn't come up here because it had issues. It came up here just for a 20-point inspection for the spring to get ready to ride, and for the standard oil changes, tune up. Do not use synthetic oil in your primary. Those clutches need to grab, and synthetic oil can be too slick when it gets warmed up and might cause your clutch to slip or feel like it's slipping. So always use SAE, just standard oil, in your primary. Now you can use full synthetic. This customer wants Mobile 1 in his 2050, and so we can run that in there. But in here, I want to go standard. Always just straight motor oil in that. We'll run that in there. We'll give that a little snug, not crazy now. We do want that seal to set. There we go. That's all we want right there. Now I did check for any leaks under here. Everything's nice and dry. Right now we're ready to go back in with our oil, and I've just got an oil jug that I keep that I only run the 20 W50 through, and I do that because it's got this little nipple here. I don't have to have any kind of special thing to catch the oil. I just put it in here and squirt. It calls for a quart. I think the manual actually says 38 ounces when dry. There is still a little bit of fluid in here. Now, if you want it to be exactly precise, take your derby cover off, and you want the oil level to come right up to the bottom of that outside ring on your clutch pack. So I'll play it safe and just put a quart in, 36 ounces. And that usually gets me with what oil is left in the bottom of this. New gasket on here. And the gasket only goes one way. And I believe the torque specs on these for this model is 80 to 110 inch-pounds. So I'll go 90. I know we're working over here changing our transmission oil. Now on this model, the 06 Road King, the transmission plug is right underneath this cover here on the oil pan. Motor oil is on the left side of the bike up in the front. So the transmission plug goes up this way. The oil plug goes in the side of the pan this way on the left side. So I started with the transmission, went ahead and pulled that out. On the transmission plug, you want to inspect that magnet. You should see very little trash. Usually transmission oil is kept very nice and very clean. It stays thick. You should not see a lot of trash and metal. If you see a lot of metal shaving on your transmission plug, you might have some gear issues that you might need to address. Usually these are really nice and clean. The plug on this was not torqued, I'll tell you that. I could have almost turned it with my hand. I will be changing out the O-ring on this. It just looks a little old and flat. The O-ring plugs are the same for the transmission and the oil. Run this in by hand. It's a 5/8 socket, and the torque on this is anywhere from 18 to 21 foot-pounds. So I will torque it to 20 foot-pounds, and then we'll got to move our center stand back after we fill this and get to our engine oil. All right, there's 20. With the transmission plug and the oil plug, you want to be very careful. Just go slow and do not over tighten it. If you strip out that oil pan, you could be in trouble. Sorry, I thought I had hit record and I did not. Takes 3/4 of a quart in here. There will be a little bit of transmission fluid still left on the gears and stuff. So what I usually do is put a little bit over half, give it time to go in, maybe even start the bike, turn it off, let everything settle, put my dipstick back in the transmission cover, pull it out and see where I'm at. Then I know. So I got the oil in there already. Synthetic gear oil is what I like the Lucas. Some people like the Red Line. Some people like Mobile One. There's all kinds. Just get a good gear oil and you'll be fine. Ready now to drop the oil for the motor. And it is right here, right down from the back of my inspection. And it's actually a bolt that goes, a plug that goes into the side, not from the bottom, but from the side. So we'll get this on here. It's a 5/8 as well. And we'll get our pan under here. Now to help with the flow of it coming out, you can go over to the other side and take your oil dipstick out. Already got a new O-ring on here, got it oiled up. And then we've got a 5/8 that's a 20 foot-pounds. So it's got a K&N oil filter on there. It's got that nice 17 millimeter head on it. Just a caution if you're going to use those. When you're tightening this up, 3/4 of a turn is about all you need after it's hand tight. I've seen people wrench these on because it's an actual riveted nut on there. They create a leak right in here with these rivets. So this is not an actual bolt. Don't treat it like one. I bought this fancy thing. All right, it's supposed to fit up under here, but my spout comes out right here. Now if I bring it where my spout comes out here, it's too short. It doesn't go back behind the filter. So I don't know how you're supposed to use this crazy thing. What? Well, never mind. Now it's still going to run down on my frame, but maybe not as much. This old filter off. Good. It wasn't on there too tight. Yeah, that didn't do a bit of good. It's running out the back. Yeah, that did terrible. Now I got oil coming out in two places. I'm glad this happened. Notice anything missing here? The rubber O-ring. And look, it's actually back here on the motor. Now if I hadn't saw that, I hadn't pulled that off, when I went to put the old one on, the new one on, I would have had trouble. Big troubles. We got the new filter here. Go around with some oil. We'll go ahead and drop the new filter over the crank sensor. And once it's kind of tight, I'm going to go ahead and pull this garbage thing out. I hate this. I don't even know why I try to use something like that. It makes a bigger mess than if I'd have just let it run out. Terrible design. Now you could go ahead and, some models you have to pull your crank sensor out to get the oil filter out, but that's not a bad thing, because then you can clean your crank sensor off. Sometimes it has shavings on it like that, and because of that stupid oil drip pan thing, I got oil all over this new filter. Now that the filter's replaced, the drain plugs replaced, we can go ahead and throw oil in the motor, 3 quarts. But while we're over here on this side, let's go ahead and change these plugs out real quick. Start with the front one, a 5/8, and the 5/8 on here. Of course, it's a good time to make sure you don't have any fuel leaking around your valve there. All right, and that plug looks beautiful. That's the right kind of burn you want to see right there. What are we gapped at? We're gapped at 40. What are we gapped at out in the rear? Beautiful, even better than the front. We're gapped at 40. Okay, we're going right back with the Champions that came out of it. I like to kind of match whatever they were running in there before. If they're happy with those, I don't see why we would change them. All right, got that out of 40. There's our front one going in. And of course, it doesn't hurt to compare. Make sure the thread's right and the length's right, or the part number's right, and just make sure you got the right thing. And you do have to set these gaps, because this one was gapped at 15. So it's important to check those gaps. Just don't take them out of the box and throw them in. I've seen some that were even smashed. What's wrong with you? Why ain't you threading in? Just wasn't holding my mouth right. All right, we'll get these crush washers crushed down. It'll feel like, man, this is stripping out. It'll feel kind of weird, but it crushes that together. You ain't got to worry about it coming out. Now, used to, I would crush them down, back them off, and then tighten them again. Then somebody said, hey dude, you ain't got to do that. That's what crush washers are for. So I stopped doing that. But if I'm wrong, tell me. You'll feel it crushing down and you'll feel it get really tight. And that's when you want to stop. Very good. Let's throw some oil in it. So we got the 3 quarts in, and he wanted to upgrade to a little digital temperature oil gauge. So you just reach down here and push the button, 48 degrees. And then it also has, you can do Fahrenheit or Celsius. It also has a red light that'll come on if it, if your oil gets too hot. I think 280 to 300 Fahrenheit, I believe. I'm not sure. Okay, so on the neck bearing check, what you'll do is raise the front of the bike up, remove any kind of wheel, chalk, or all this out of the way. You want the wheel hanging. You want to be able to turn, see what your follow away is, left to right. Make sure it's nice and smooth, not too loose, not too tight. And then you also want to take the rotors and grab both sides or the forks and pull. If you're right here in front of the bike, grab here and pull towards you and push. There should not be any play at all front to back. If you have that, then you have either bad bearings or you have loose neck nut. So you'll have to take all this off and check that. But I checked his, it's good and tight. The only thing left out of all the 20-point inspection and the tune-up is to get this bike off the lift and check our handlebar bolts. Okay, so for the handlebar mount bolts with the bushings, you want to turn the bike all the way over to the left. Then you can access up in here this bolt. Watch, be careful of your tank, of your fender. There, I got a little bit more turn out of that. Sometimes they get loose. Now we'll turn it all the way the other way. Do the same on the other side. Let's start her up, see what we got. Woo, starts a whole lot better now. Oil pressure light went off, that's good. No check engine lights. She's running smoother, a lot quieter. Clutch feels good. The brakes are working great. Woo! Oh yeah. I call that good for a riding season. That's a 20-point inspection, tune-up. A good thing to do when you get your bike out of hibernation. Now, stay tuned. Oh, hold on. Don't go yet. Don't go. Listen. Chase Spears, the pinstriper, is coming up here to the shop this evening. He is pinstriping my helmet. And he's going to put that on his new channel. So I want you all to go to his channel. I'll put a little screen right there. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe down here. It'll be here somewhere. Go check his channel out and be looking for that video of him working up here in the shop this evening and pinstriping my new 3/4 helmet. And that's the helmet he actually gave me. It's always fun to spend time with Mr. Chase Spears, the pinstriper magnificent. Thank you all so much for helping me out on getting this bike ready for the riding season. And tell your mom and them I said hi.